Welcome to the Financial Flossing Podcast with Ross Brannon, guiding dental professionals to a brighter future. Ross Brannon is a financial advisor who knows it's not just about your teeth. He helps dental practice owners protect and maximize today's cash flow to plan for tomorrow's cash needs. Find him at rossbrannon.com. On the show, he brings together experts to help dental professionals looking to make smart money decisions to grow their income, turn their retirement goals into reality, and improve their lives. And now, here's your host, Ross Brannon.
Welcome to the show. My guest today is Michele Bishop. Dr. Bishop is a general dentist, founder of Ingram Hills Dental, and co-host of Tipsy Tooth Talk. She has been a general dentist for 22 years and has worked in the public health field at federally qualified health centers and now owns her own private practice. Today, she joins us on Financial Flossing. Michele, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Sure thing. Now, you have a really interesting story. You started out as a dental assistant, and then you went back to dental school. Tell us a little bit about that process, that decision, and what your employer said to you.
Yes, so I had always wanted to be a dentist and quickly went to college and found out that the computer science degree that my parents wanted me to have wasn't working out. And so I got a job as a dental assistant, and my employer said to me one day, you're on the wrong side of the chair. Like, you are too talented to be over there. If you don't go back to school and start working towards getting into dental school, I'm going to fire you. And so he actually allowed me to take time off during the day, and I would go take classes 3 days a week at the local university. So that's how I transitioned from the suctioning side of the chair to the drilling side of the chair.
Now, you said you always wanted to be a dentist. Why didn't you just go straight into dental school after finishing undergrad?
Well, I was a child that was graduating in the 80s, and that was back during the big AIDS, blow up, and my parents were adamant against it.
Because if you became a dentist, you'd catch AIDS.
Correct. Yes. My parents are older, in their 90s, and so they were not for it. They also didn't see a lot of women dentists at that point, and so they didn't think it was a field that I should try and get into.
Okay. So your boss basically threatens to kick you to fire you, to kick you out if you don't start going to school. You go to school, you're still working, you end up graduating dental school, and then you had an opportunity that, made sense financially, but it kind of took a little bit different turn.
Right. My husband and I were newly married, and we thought, let's go on an adventure. We don't have anything holding us back. And so there was the opportunity to move to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and work in the federal loan repayment process, through working through federally qualified health centers. And that's how we landed there with our story of, we're only going to be here for 5 years max. And the 5 years turned to 10.
Yeah. So what kept you there longer than 5?
Albuquerque is an amazing city with some fantastic people. And as we grew in the community and got to know people and develop friendships, it was very hard to leave. And the only reason we left is to bring our newborn daughter home to be around family. Otherwise, we'd still be there. Now,
you went to work there, but you became really good at what you were doing. You were connected in the community and the university. Talk about where you started at that facility and where it ended up.
So when I started at the health center, I was just one of the many associate dentists there. I think we had a total of 5 or 6. And as the years went on, I was named the clinical director of the facility. And then a couple of years before I left, the University of New Mexico began their residency program, where they would bring newly graduated dentists in for further training. And as part of their training, they would send some of those dentists out into the community to do work. And so on average, we would have about 2 residents per semester that I would oversee, and they would come in and shadow, but they would also do work, and I would, kind of work along with them and help them develop, more advanced skills.
So after 10 years, you moved from Albuquerque back to San Antonio, and you started practice from scratch. Is that right?
Well, actually, I came back and went to work for another health center that's locally owned, but same premise, working with the underserved, no insurance or anything needed. And then I began my search, because then I knew that we were home, we weren't going anywhere. And I really took my time to figure out where I wanted to be in the community and what practice was going to be a good fit for me before I just jumped in and bought the first thing.
So you bought a practice, you didn't start from scratch.
Correct. This practice has been here for over 47 years now. And the original dentist was still here when I purchased it. The second dentist that had purchased it was still working here. So when I took it over, there were 3 of us in the practice.
Oh, wow. Now, you said that your patients typically are older in nature, more kind of retirees, senior citizens. Did you purposefully go after that demographic, or was that just kind of happen?
I think it kind of happened, but I'm glad that it did. That's definitely my niche, I feel like. Older. When I was working for the federally qualified health centers in New Mexico, I did work with a lot of older Indian population, and I was just always so fascinated with their stories and just learning more about them and having the time and being slow with them to learn that and gain that trust. And I think that helps you relate to your patients better. With little kids and teenagers, they want that fast pace, and that's not really something that I love in my practice.
Well, that's kind of matching a style with a demographic. It sounds like that's pretty wise of you. Now, you've been named. San Antonio is a pretty big town. It's 2-3 million people, maybe more. Yeah. You've been named a top dentist in San Antonio a few times. Obviously, you're doing something right. How did you earn that reputation?
Treating people right. The name of my practice is Ingram Hills Dental, and we have core values that are displayed on in huge letters in our waiting room, and we line it up with Ingram Hills Dental. So the I is integrity driven. H is happy vibes. You will hear laughing constantly in my office. And D is devoted to smiles. And I feel like if we always live those 3 core values, then it translates to our patients. And what I tell my staff every time is every patient's smile tells our story of compassion and exceptional dentistry. And I think it just translates when patients go out and talk to other friends of theirs. That's how we get referrals and word of mouth, and that's how the word spreads.
It's really interesting you say that, because so many times people talk about core values and mission and vision, and it can become vague for a lot of people. And for some people, it's kind of empty rhetoric, but you see when you actually implement it in a real way, in a powerful way, the results that you're having in your practice from that.
Right. For the longest time, and myself included, we had this great little mission statement up on the wall that was long-winded, and if someone took the time to read it, great. And we would read it in our staff meetings and say, yes, that's what we wanted to do. But it wasn't until we really honed in on what is it that we do every day consistently that makes a difference. And that's where we came up with those 3 core values. And everyone knows it, everybody lives it. And I feel like our patients feel it when they're here in the office.
So shifting gears a little bit, what was the biggest challenge for you going from basically a government employee to a small business owner?
Wow. What they don't teach you in dental school, how to run a business. As I feel like the difference for dental owners versus any other type of small business is that you can't hire the people to do the business for you, right? You are the person producing. And so not only do you have to produce the dentistry that nobody else can do, but you also have to run the business. And so it's basically like doing 2 jobs full time with overhead and overtime.
Did it take some time to make this adjustment, or did you pick up on it pretty quickly?
It took some time. I will say the first year was honestly a year of regret. Why did I do this? Why did I take this on? I'm not cut out for this. I wish I was still living my sweet, 8 to 5 government job. But slowly, you begin to see the rewards of, I've never had a better boss than myself. And just seeing, that you can make a difference in people's lives when you have control over what you can do.
Did you ever sit down and ask the guy you bought it from, who was working there with you, like, how did you do this? Or did you ever confide in him the overwhelmedness that you felt?
No, I did not.
I don't blame you.
You can't do that.
I know. I had to ask, though. So
that's like crying uncle. You can't. You just got to keep pushing forward.
So on a little bit different topic, you are also a fellow podcaster. Talk a little bit about your podcast and where that came from and what it's about.
So we have a YouTube channel called Tipsy Tooth Talk. And my dear friend, Dr. Carlin Bloom, was the brainchild of this. During COVID, we were bored. Type A personalities don't like to sit around. And she thought it would be super fun to be the Hoda and Kathy Lee of dentistry. And so we love to always share a good bottle of wine or a cocktail. And we thought, well, why don't we marry those two together? And so we have Tipsy Tooth Talk. We film at least every other week and post those. And we make a cocktail, share the recipe with the audience, share some funny tidbits about it, and then dive into a dental topic. All ranges from, she's a pediatric dentist, so we talk about kid topics. I talk about general dentistry topics, orthodontics, gum disease, the whole gamut. And we just have some fun and laugh at ourselves, and we do it all in one take. And
so it's on YouTube, not like Spotify or iTunes, correct?
Correct. It's on YouTube.
So do you like get dressed up and the makeup and all that stuff? Because, we're here on a podcast, and I mean, while we are doing video, most people are listening to us on audio. So we could look terrible. No one would know.
We wear our scrubs, and we look like you would see us in the office. We don't do anything extra special. Again, it's just two good friends having fun and trying to take the stigma away from dentistry. Everybody thinks dentists are so uptight and you can't have fun, and dentistry's scary, and I don't like to go. And how many times do we hear, I hate going to the dentist? We hear that on a daily basis. And so it was just our way to lighten up COVID, have some fun with ourselves and try and make dentistry a little more, like I said, less scary to people.
So going back to your government work, what did you learn in the government side of things that you probably wouldn't have learned if in dentistry had you only been in private practice your entire career? Because, I mean, government gets a bad rap. Everyone makes fun of government, says it's inefficient, it's not good, they don't do anything well. But I bet there's some things government does well that the private practice side could learn from.
I think the biggest thing that I learned was taking care of staff. And I can't say that I can speak for every government entity, but, where I worked, they were very good about taking care of the team. Right? The team was family, and you can't function without the team. And in a dental office, you really can't function without your team being on board with you. And so learning to, as a boss, step back. So even as the clinical director there, being able to step back and go, let me look at it from their perspective, I think was very helpful transitioning into private practice. But I also think being a dental assistant and having been on the other side of the chair was very beneficial. Because what I say to my staff all the time is, I'm never asking you to do something I haven't done or I'm still not willing to do.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, so kind of another off topic question here is, and I'd like to ask this from someone who's been in the game a while, like you, for 22 years. In the current market environment with dentists in the DSO world, what is your take on the DSO world? And some people hate them. Some people love them. Some people are indifferent. Some people are trying to sell to them right now. Some people will never sell to them. What's your take on the DSO world and what it's doing to the dental industry?
So I find DSOs interesting. I don't love them and I don't hate them. And it's not that I'm indifferent to them. I think what the DSO does so well is that they understand business. They understand business better than any private practitioner ever will. And they went in with the mindset of business first. And that's where they excel. What they don't do well at is taking care of the patients, taking care of their staff. But I think there's certainly, if they could figure out how to marry those two, I think DSOs would be a bigger force than they already are. But I think what they do well is you can't argue with their success, and you can't argue with it's because they have business-minded people running the show. Well, their dentists are just there to produce.
Right. That's the challenge, because I know people who have sold to DSOs who would argue that the DSO ruined their name because the DSO keeps the same name and they didn't do things the same way. At the same time, to your point about understanding business, in my experience working with dentists, is there's, and I've said this numerous times, there's two extremes. You have someone who owns a job. It's a really good job and earns a good income. And then you have someone who's a business owner who happens to be a dentist, and they have an exorbitant income and they have a tremendous freedom and flexibility. And, not that one is better than the other. And some people are wired for one way over the other, or geared for one way over the other. But I think if the dentist if a private practice dentist can learn the business skills, then I don't think they have to sell to the DSO. Some people
right
just feel like they don't have a choice.
Right. And I think there's so many courses these days. I'm actually getting ready to attend one again this weekend that's strictly about small business. I'm not going to learn about dental stuff. I'm going to learn how to grow my business, how to work on my business. And I think the problem is that as dental practitioners in school, we are so ingrained that you must, every course you take should be on how to improve your skills. But nobody talks about your business skills. And we're always so ready to jump in and pay money to take a course to improve our hands, but we're not ready to jump in and take a course to improve our minds on how to run the business. Well, and I think if more private practice practitioners could do that, I think they'd see a turnaround in their practice.
Well, it's a great point, because like you said earlier, you don't learn anything in dental school except the clinical part. You don't learn anything about managing employees. You don't learn anything about running a business. And I've met people who tried to sell their practice just because they hated managing employees so much. And, the return on investment of learning to manage employees is substantial. And it's like, if you could crack that code, there's a lot of financial opportunity in that scenario. And there's a ton of consultants out there who help. Some of them are good, some of them are average, some of them are not so good. But I think your point is, $1 invested in yourself or in your business is arguably the highest rate of return you're going to get.
Absolutely. And you speak about consultants. I have found that when I use a consultant, just to tweak things here and there, the change that we see for the positive is always so much better. We get so tunnel visioned because we're working it every day, all day, and our staff is working it. And you get that third party that comes in that doesn't have, a vested interest one way or the other, and they can give you some objective advice. It's really beneficial.
Yeah, getting fresh eyes who can take the bias away from it. And you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Or you might be a little offended because you're like, oh, this is my idea. You're like, well, there's a better way of doing it, this and that. And so I think that's a really good point. And kind of along those lines, as something you were saying a minute ago, have you found the challenge of working in your practice versus working on your practice? Have you found that to be a challenge? Obviously, you're chair side, you're in your practice. Let's suppose you work you see patients 4 days a week, and Friday is more administrative day. Friday, you're working on your practice. Have you found that to be a challenge, that tension of in versus on? Because you're obviously producing, but ultimately working on your practice long-term is more profitable for you. Have you found that to be a challenge?
A huge challenge. Dentistry is exhausting on the mind and the body. And so on that day off, when I should be in front of my computer, pounding through reports or finishing up charts or forecasting for the next, quarter, I don't want to do it. I simply just don't want to do it. I just want to take some time.
At least you're honest.
I just want to take some time to decompress, or, go to my child's school at lunchtime, or, there's just so many other things that pull us because we've already worked a full week. A normal CEO of their business would work that 40-hour week and walk away, or the 32 hours, whatever, and walk away. Well, we've already worked by producing, and now we have to work even more to work on it. And it's a huge challenge to keep your mind in the game.
Now, have you found success managing that challenge?
I have. I try very hard to make sure that at least the first and the last Friday of the month are strictly devoted to working on the business, so that I don't have, if I'm catching things at the beginning of the month, I'm catching things before the books close, the end of the month. And I try not to schedule anything on those days. And now, the other two, give me leeway to schedule, other things, family, stuff like that.
Do you have associates?
I do not. So I'm a sole practitioner.
Have you ever considered, or what's the challenge or the thought process of bringing on an associate versus not bringing on an associate? Like, is that something that you're like, I don't want to bring on an associate, I want to do it all myself? Or is like, oh, I'd love to bring on an associate, but finding the right fit's a challenge. What's the dynamic there?
Yes, I would love to bring on an associate. The challenge is finding someone that's, just like you said, that's like-minded. The other challenge is you almost have to work double time when you bring on an associate, because you not only need to get the associate up to speed and make sure that they're in the same diagnosing realm as you are, that, you're compatible and you're equilibrated in your treatment. But you also have to get the patients on board, because once you've been their primary dentist, they don't want to see somebody else, and they get really upset if you're out of the office. And so if you bring an associate on, great, that in theory should afford you time away from the office. But really what it does for the first, 6 months to a year is you've got to be there extra so that you can not only oversee the associate, not that they're inept, but just getting them up to speed with how you do things, but also building the trust in the patients that you trust the associate to see them.
Sounds like you've either had an associate in the past or you've had a good friend who's had an associate and there were some challenges. Which one was it?
I was actually an associate at one point, and I've had a friend who's gone through many.
Yeah, I've got clients who've gone through many, but when they find a good one, it's great. But I've also heard that the market right now, for associates, is about like the market for used cars or houses right now. That it's a bidding war.
It is. It's a bidding war with any type of dental staff, whether it be front office or hygienist or assistant. Really, at this point in the game, you're having to steal from another office if you want someone who has the skills.
Oh, that's kind of disappointing. I guess
it is.
You don't want to steal from a friend or someone in your
right.
Unless you just don't like them. Then you're like, I don't care then.
Well, and I don't mean going out and poaching them, but the only people applying are people from other offices at this point. We don't seem to have that fresh influx graduating from dental assisting schools or even hygiene schools. I'm not sure. I don't know where they're all at, but I wish they would come out and play.
Well, and the challenge is if someone works for John Doe Dentist and they make X and they're coming to you because you're paying them X plus 2, as soon as someone offers them X plus 4, they're gone.
Exactly.
And that's not what you want, because then you got to retrain somebody and hire somebody. It's a tremendous challenge.
It is. It messes, and patients like to see the same faces. That's part of the trust factor, is they want to see those same people, and they want to build that rapport with the assistant and the hygienist just as much as they want to with the dentist.
Right. So as we wrap up here, what advice would you give to a brand new dental school grad?
I would say read a lot of business books. Get yourself immersed in some type of mastermind or study group that is small business owners that are diverse. You don't want to surround yourself with just dentists. Find other people that you admire and hope to be like, and start learning from them now. And then, when you begin to look for a practice, think about how you would like to practice 10 years from now, and see if those values align with the individual that you're considering either associating with or buying out. Because more than likely, those values are already ingrained in that practice, and it's going to be very hard for you to go in and change them if that's not what you align with.
That's really good wisdom right there. Last question. I'm a big reader. Are you a reader? If you are, what books do you recommend?
I am a reader, and I have it right here on my desk. I'm actually finishing up Profit First.
Oh, Profit First for Dentists. Okay, nice.
Yeah. And gosh, put me on the spot there. Aside from that one, I love, and I can't think of the titles of the books at the moment, but Greg Reed, I feel like, is a phenomenal author about business and self-awareness and self-improvement. Sharon Lecter, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They're just all great books that help you grow as a business owner.
I just recommended Cash Flow Quadrant to somebody. So just 2 hours ago. So I think it's a great one. So, well, Michele, I really appreciate your time today. This has been an absolutely fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
You've been listening to the Financial Flossing Podcast with Ross Brannon. Tune in next week for our next episode.
This has been another episode of Financial Flossing with Ross Brannon, guiding dental professionals to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. For more on Ross Brannon, visit rossbrannon.com.
Registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS, OSJ, 3664 Coolidge Court, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311, 850-562-9075. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. North Florida Financial is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. California Insurance License Number 0L10073. Arkansas Insurance License Number 161-39032. 2021 119535. Expires 423. That last part can also say 2021 119535. Expiration April 2023.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by PAS, Guardian, or North Florida Financial, and opinions stated are their own. External sites and material are provided for your convenience in locating related information and services. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees expressly disclaim any responsibility for and do not maintain, control, recommend, or endorse third-party sites, organizations, products, or services, and make no representation as to the completeness, suitability, or quality thereof. Ross is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS, OSJ, 3664 Coolidge Court, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311, 850-562-9075. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. North Florida Financial is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Arkansas Insurance License Number 161-39032. California Insurance License Number 0L10073. 2022-135-912. Expiration 0324.